What's going on, everyone? So last time we were here was about 3 months ago, and so many things have changed in Capybara Go. So we got to return back to our roots and talk about gems in this game. We're talking about the little purple ones app at the top here on what you should be spending these as a free-to-play player. There are a lot of new additions and really a different prioritization of things depending on, all the different updates in the game. And so I figured it was worthwhile to kind of go through and really help you utilize these resources to the best of our ability. Now, first thing we got to start with is you have to keep 32,000 saved. Free to play players, this is a must do. The reason that is, and this is even more so because of the resident system, Dragon Girl, the way we acquire additional stars, the way we get these stars is from the big adventure. And the only time you can get additional tokens for Dragon Girl is by getting the little adventure books that you could purchase every single time the big adventure comes around. Now, the reason why I say 32,000 is because that's the amount of gems you need to pick up as many books as you possibly can each time this event comes around, because you have a limit of 100. And each time you purchase a group of 10 of them, it's 3,200 gems. So 32,000 needs to be kept saved at all times for the big adventure. On a lesser note, and this is actually coming up just here in a day or so, we've got the treasure team. Now, the treasure team here, this is also pretty solid, and I would try to save some gems for this if I can. Now, just to give you guys an idea, free-to-play players, they can earn about 4,000 gems daily, assuming they are going through and playing the game to the maximum every single day. So you can absolutely save another 32,000 for the treasure team. And I would recommend this because this is one way you can unlock the Arcana for your weapons, as well as if you're looking for a fast mythic weapon as a free-to-play player, this is another way you can earn those universal crystals, which could help you progress your weapon. On an even lesser note, and I'm going to mention this even though I don't think it's actually something that I would recommend saving for the most part, is the Mystic Sea. Now, the Mystic Sea is a little bit different because this is the way you actually are going to get access to your Arcana for your immortal pets, like your Elsa, for me, for my Freya. This is how you're going to get these Arcanas for that little nice upgrade for these very powerful pets. To be honest, I would recommend, if you can, some sort of initial Arcana. So what I mean by that is just getting the Arcana in the first place is quite useful. And so if you have Elsa and you have Freya, which you should for most builds, just saving up for Mystic Sea, which is another 32,000, is going to be helpful for you when that event comes around. Now, as a side note, these events only show up on like a monthly basis for the most part. And so you do have enough time to save the 32,000 in between them. But if there's, let's say, a treasure team or a Mystic Sea and you're barely grinding it out to get to the 32,000, and then there's going to be a big adventure soon, you're going to probably want to just pass on that event. And there are also other ways to be spending your gems, which we also have to talk about. As I said, 32,000 saved for big adventure. The other two events are less important, even though they're also 32,000 gems, than this other thing that we're going to talk about, which is the martial arts tournament. So big adventure and the martial arts tournament are equally as important in my eyes at the current state of the game. And the reason that is because of the divine weapon cubes. You need to acquire enough radars every single time this event comes around to be able to pick up these divine weapon cubes every single time. Every single time. If you're a new player, especially, but any player at this stage, unless you're like a mega spender, you're going to need divine weapon cubes. If you look inside of your build, each one of your pieces of gear is going to need 60 minimum to pick up the double S variant, right? 60 for weapons, 60 for ring, 60 for your second ring, 60 for accessory, 60 for your second accessory, and 60 for an armor piece, which at minimum, that's 60 times 6, which is 360 divine weapon cubes. You can only get 30 per 2-week period with a martial arts tournament, which means at minimum, that is 12 cycles, which is roughly about 6 months, right? So roughly about 6 months you're going to need to be accumulating those divine weapon cubes for any account, and that's just to unlock the double S equipment. That's not including the actual psionic refinement, which you can use your divine weapon cubes to min-max your stats for each of these. So yeah, divine weapon cubes are going to be immensely important. And why do I mention this? Why okay, well, yeah, divine weapon cubes, sure. Why do I mention this? How does this interfere with gems? Well, the martial arts dice. You could pick up 10 times these, so 10,000 martial arts dice for 6,000 gems. And generally speaking, you're going to need to spend the 6,000 gems to get the dice. Yes, you can complete the tasks to get all the gems, and you absolutely should, no doubt about it. But if you're planning on to maximize your radar acquisition, which again, you're going to want to because the divine weapon cubes is important, but also there's a ton of amazing things in this store, including the Cappy Eddie Veyron. You have the elite packs in here. You have the various weapon selection boxes, but it's not necessary to spend 6,000 gems every single time, because sometimes you get lucky with bets and you'll get a ton of radars. And so you just need to spend enough gems to be able to place every single bet possible, if you can, to get your divine weapon cubes. You cannot miss out on these divine weapon cubes. This is a 2-week stall. Similar to the big adventure, these are time lock requirements for massive bonuses. You need to be picking up these divine weapon cubes every single time. The amount of gems you need to spend correlates to you getting enough radars to get the divine weapon cubes. And just to kind of give you an idea behind this, you could spend 1,000 per elimination round when that comes around, and that gives you either 500 to 1,500 radars. And then the grand final scales depending on how many consecutive bets you're placing. I'm not exactly sure on how many divine or dice you need, but again, that's going to give you a bunch of radars as well. You just need that radar amount to get the divine weapon cubes. So that's by far the most important ones. 32,000 saved for the big adventure. You got to spend your gems on those dice to bet in the Grand Martial Arts Tournament to get your divine weapon cubes. And then you're going to want to consider yourself for the Treasure Team and Mystic Sea. These are the most important concepts in the game, period. Now, I'm going to add a couple more on here that are somewhat daily and somewhat to use with your extra gems. The first one being the Dungeon Dive. I would 100% recommend purchasing 2 additional daily vouchers every single day. And this is regardless of basically anything else, especially if you're a new player. If you're a new player, you're going to, by using these gems on the Dungeon Dive, going to get your gems back by progressing stages. But even if you're not, this is one of the only ways, consistent ways that is, to pick up gold horseshoes for your mount progression. Extremely good deal to do so, even if you're losing it every single time. Even if you lose all 5 of your Dungeon Dive runs that day, it's still worth it. I mean, check out the leaderboard here. For me, I'm sitting at number 2 as someone who's only has the lifetime card and the ad-free card, and I'm still doing it every single day, 5 times per day, just because even though I fail like every single one of those, I maybe win 1 of the 5 at this point, it's still worth it for my mount. It's still worth it. Still worth it, 100%. After that, I want to quickly mention energy purchases. Now, this is dependent on what events are currently in. There's oftentimes these events where it's like, oh, you need to spend energy to get a little bit higher. If you spend a little bit more energy to get an extra rank up, to get a little bit of extra, bonus rewards at the end of it, that could potentially be worth it. And of course, if you haven't completed the total, energy spending event, and this is, again, just running chapters and then getting the resources from that, it is probably worth it for you to pick up some extra energy. Also, if you need to progress your hard mode or whatever, you're progressing your chapter and you need a little bit extra energy, that can be sometimes worth it. I honestly lately have not been picking up the gems, the extra energy. If you are going to do this for your various little energy events that are happening, only pick up the first 2. That's it. Don't go past that. 150, 180 gems, it starts to get very expensive and starts to reduce your overall income on gems to where you can't actually pick up all the other stuff. After all of that, your next step is to save for events like the Ninja Turtle. So if you're saving 32,000, you're spending on Big Adventure Treasure Team, and you're spending gems on Divine Weapon Cube, you're only going to have a small accumulation of extra gems that you're going to build. And then events like the Ninja Turtle event comes around, and boom, suddenly you drop those big purchases, right? Now this one, depending on, what people's opinions are, is one that, is debatable on when you should spend gems. It's one that I believe you should absolutely have spent all your gems on if you had the availability to do so. So this is a great event, in my opinion at least, to have saved for. And the reason that is because you can get in some of these events some massively powerful rewards. I mean, for example, in this one, it gives you never before seen adventures that are going to be able to be potentially resonated with, and for potentially amazing value for certain builds. But also, even if that's not the case, just getting the adventures so you can invest your arcane dust to reach level 30, 60, and 90 to get global stats for your other adventures is extremely powerful. And regardless of just the adventures on this one, you also have various mounts, you have various rewards like the brand and legacy boxes, you've got things like elite packs, legendary gems, selection boxes, inheritance books, all sorts of various different keys, gem keys and legendary keys, wishing scrolls. These events are pretty powerful. And this is just the only event that you should be spending gems on, right? I mean, Ninja Turtle event is one of them that I would recommend, but there are some, like the Harvest events can be sometimes good. The Fisherman's Wharf can, depending on the event and depending on what rewards are in there, they can be very good for you to spend gems on. And so this is the follow-up. So after you've, save your 32,000 for your big adventure, you've gotten your divine weapon cubes and you spend all your gems to get those radars, you've got your dungeon dive tickets for the day, let's say you bypass the energy purchase or you purchase whatever, all your extra gems should be sitting in a pile for those events. The last thing that I would like to recommend, and this is really dependent on where you're at in the game, honestly. If you are not at a mythic weapon, this is one of the few times where I would say this can be an option for you. But if you've already picked up your mythic weapon, yes, the mythic armor, mythic rings, mythic accessories are still good. So you have to determine whether or not this is a place for you to do this. But generally, I found that you can get way more value out of a lot of events by spending gems in there than spending gems on the limited secret chest. But this is a viable way to get extra pieces of gear and to get yourself to mythic gear pieces way faster. And so if you have extra gems and, you're like, well, I could just do my events and I'm not worried about all the rewards in the, Fisherman's Wharf or Harvest Moon or Ninja Turtle event that comes around, I can spend my gems in limited secret chest. This is going to be valuable for you. And if you're early on in the game, this does get even more valuable just because you are missing, legendary pieces of gear. You're missing just the gear themselves. And there's all sorts of different things that as you're early on in the game, this can be a little bit more valuable. There are all sorts of other ways to spend gems in the game. One of the biggest things is the black market. Now, initially, the only one I would have potentially suggested is for you to get the gold horseshoes, but I just think this is too many gems with all the new additions to the game. I just don't recommend this, especially considering if you fail a dungeon dive for 100 gems, you get 50 horseshoes. And if you look here with this discount, it's 800 gems for 50 horseshoes. It's 8 times the price. Just not worth it. I wouldn't even recommend picking up anything else up here, even if you're trying to sneak in for a chest event or anything like that. Probably not worth it. And there are, like I said, a lot of other ways to spend gems. I mean, you could be spending gems on the regular legendary treasure chest, which is definitely not worth it. Spending gems on various other events and various other spots of the game, extra energy, etc., etc., etc. These are just the priority lists of it, right? After all of this, you could technically go for the black market and pick up some stuff in here if you really want to. There are the black market events that come around, and generally the only ones that I will pick up in that are legendary keys, which is something to kind of consider. But if you look at this list and you say, okay, I've got my 32,000 saved for big adventure, I've got my divine weapon cubes from my shop, great, or my dice to spend to bet to get my divine weapon cubes, I've kind of got the treasure team in the back of my mind for the weapon arcanas, and same thing with Mystic Sea for pet arcanas. I've got my dungeon dive tickets every day. I'm sometimes doing energy purchases, and then I'm saving for events. Well, if you're saving for events, great. All the extra gems that you have can be spent on limited chests, right? This is something that's just a permanent sink of gems. Like, you could do this anytime, assuming the right banner is out for you, that there really isn't any other way to spend a reason to spend gems in any other place. So that's going to be the updated gem guide. Really, the biggest changes that we've had are, less expenditure of gems on things that are less important, just because there are more things that are important, including the divine weapon cubes, as well as the big adventure. The big adventure, it was still the #1 priority before. It's even more so now because of the resin system. If you are guaranteed to upgrade your Dragon Girl, every other adventure on this list gets stronger because you can resonate with whoever you choose. And then, of course, the divine weapon cubes are the only way to get double S equipment. It's the only free-to-play way to do it. You need to do it every single time. It's time-gated. And so those two things have gotten immensely more important, and divine weapon cubes didn't even exist before. And so this is why my priority list has shifted, especially for your free-to-play players out there. You need those divine weapon cubes. I cannot stress this enough. If you are not participating enough to get the tasks done, you need to be picking up those dice with gems to spend it on betting. And honestly, it's still even a good way to do it regardless. Like, it's still a good expenditure of gems, period. Like I mentioned, that shop has a lot of good things in it, and divine weapon cubes aren't the only thing that you want to be looking for. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all for the next one.